You know, someone's social media handle can say an awful lot about them. But when one says, oh, the journey, you think to yourself, really? And you just gotta know. And today on the Pivot series, you are going to love to get to know this young woman right here, whose life is a literal journey. But don't be fooled. In years, she's just started, but she's already leaps and bounds ahead of so many of us. Let's meet Karishma Chugani. How are you?
I'm good, Gaynell. How are you?
Fantastic, and welcome to the Pivot series.
Thank you. It's such an honor to be here with you.
My goodness gracious. I mean, I'm going to leap to the end and come forward because now you're a business owner of Panache. I mean, it's island wear. It's easy. It's breezy. Every time you look at it, you feel rich and you feel leisurely, like, oh, today is definitely Sunday.
Thank you very much.
So that took a journey though, didn't it?
It really did.
So tell us where the Karishma story actually began.
So we're going to go many moons ago. I grew up in a very traditional Indian family here in Barbados. I'm the first generation in my family to actually be born here. The rest of the family was all born in India. Okay. So it was a lot as a girl growing up. I was also the first grandchild in my family. So, you know, it's that feeling of all eyes are on you and you have to be successful. And so, yeah, I came from a very traditional background. I mean, I even got married in my very early 20s, literally as I turned 21. And I followed that very traditional path, one that was already carved for me, which was a bit challenging because something didn't resonate for me. It just didn't feel right with my soul. And eventually I was actually working in retail. And then eventually I got an opportunity to work representing Thomson Holidays in Barbados. And I was just out of college. I just got my degree, and my degree was actually in business management. But the break that I got was in the tourism sector. And I had to fight tooth and nail to even be allowed out of the house to take on this role. Oh. Yeah, so it was challenging, but it was interesting. And it was to do with inviting people into the country and showing them everything Barbados had to offer. And I love my island. I'm a big Barbados girl. So it was beautiful. And I learned so much about myself through that process. I learned what I was made of. I learned that I actually had a voice and my opinions did matter. And I also learned that when I'm tossed into an environment where I know nothing and it's either a sink or a swim, I'm gonna swim. So that's what Thomson taught me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So everyone remembers their first job.
Yes.
And Thomson would be yours. What did it mean for you to have a job? Because you said you had to fight tooth and nail to leave the house to do this.
Yes, I did. Truthfully, it just meant freedom to me. I felt like even though it was challenging and even though there were so many facets of that role that I didn't quite understand, it was an opportunity to learn. And that alone excited me. And it was great because the first part of the job was 2 weeks of training, which was taking every tour that the island had to offer.
Oh, hard.
Yeah,
hard.
Such a tough job.
I don't know how you got through those 2 weeks.
So yeah, you know, it was an opportunity to fall head over heels in love with Barbados, which was wonderful. And it was hospitality. So you're passionate about your country and you're welcoming people in and telling them where to go and what to do and problem solving because you're taking care of issues that they're having at their hotels. And so it was a lot. It was 24/7. And I just thrived on it because I absolutely loved it.
So Thomson basically whetted the appetite, so to speak.
It did.
For your love of tourism.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
And it also gave me a platform to meet some incredible women. And little did I know that one of those women was actually going to open the door for me with the Crane, which is a company I've now been with for 7 years. So it really was a pivotal moment, so to say, in my life.
So here you are going from one job that you fought for, and most people think, I fought for this, I'm staying here. Yeah. But no, you saw another open door and you ventured through that one.
Yeah.
And you went from recruit to management in 6 weeks.
I did. Yes.
Are you trying to make the rest of us just feel slow? Or?
I'm not. And it was very challenging, but the role was kind of a bit of a hybrid role. And so in understanding what that hybrid was, it was just a matter, again, of having passion and belief in what you were doing. And I was fascinated by the crane. I was fascinated by the minds that created the product, and I just wanted to tell everyone about it. So that's basically what I was hired to do. I was hired to make people interested in it so that the sales team would have an opportunity to make it a second home for people. And I was successful with that feat twice in 6 weeks. Whereas apparently it took months for some people to be successful with it. So that's what happened. And then also when we had our first major meeting with the owner of the crane, whereas most people would be shy, and I was definitely very shy, he said a couple of things, and my curiosity sometimes gets the best of me. So if there's something I don't know, I want to know more, and I'll keep asking questions. So I kept raising my hand and asking him questions, and I left that meeting thinking, oh, Karishma, you just blew that. Like, you spoke too much and you asked too many questions, and you should have just been the good Indian girl and stayed quiet and listened to what was being told to you. But it was actually in doing that he noticed me. And from what I heard, it was that he saw a talent within me. So yeah, that's how it happened.
And you know what? Culture is a heck of a thing because he's North American, he's Canadian.
Yep, he is.
So we don't thrive on shyness.
So true.
If I see one person putting up their hand often, I'm going to remember that one person who kept putting up her hand, and that you did, not only literally, but figuratively. So now you're on Paul Doyle's radar at the crane, and it's exciting, but it must also have been a little intimidating as well.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, he knows your name now.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It was very intimidating. I had no idea what was coming next. And actually, when they asked me if I would champion the new role of managing the team, I almost stopped breathing for a moment, and I was like, come again? What did you just say? I'm new, right?
Managing a team. So this is now not only properties, it's people.
Yes, it's people. And it was interesting. I learned a lot. There were very many dynamics that you'd had to learn how to manage. And it's, ensuring that you have a team where people feel like they're heard and that their ideas are accepted and that they are understood. And so I did that for about a year. And then that role put me into a new one, which is called Lead Generation Manager, where I was helping create the strategic link between realtors across the island for our sales office, because we were now getting into the condos. Mm-hmm. And eventually that led me to becoming a senior ownership agent.
Well, as she continues to thrive, this is like a story of just stepping and stepping and stepping, all because you fought for the first big thing. Yeah. I want to be able to work and find my own voice and be my own person.
Yeah, 100%. The
reality is, though, on the personal front, somewhere along the line, you also had to step out on your own as well.
I did. And I think that's really, it was the desire beneath that to not put any level of burden on my parents, because, they did their part. They gave me a great education. They got me married off. They did everything that they were raised to do and told to do as good parents to their children. Mm-hmm. But when I made the decision to separate from a situation that just wasn't a right fit for me, it was challenging, because you're never raised as an Indian girl to know how to manage finances and insurance and all these various things that when you're stepping out on a life of your own, they're huge and they take a toll, and you need to know what you're doing to take care of yourself.
Right.
So with that desire of not putting a burden on anyone else and knowing that I could be self-sufficient, I just had that desire that I didn't want to be a burden on my parents. And so with, minimal money in my account, I decided, right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to gain my independence. I'm going to gain not just a job, but a career. And I'm going to make a name for myself as Karishma Chugani, not as, someone's daughter or someone's wife, just as me as a person.
And that's a big role to step into.
It is.
People assume that, well, this was a name given at birth and this is who I am. But when you literally have to fight for recognition of who you are, you gotta really appreciate it a little bit more.
100%. You
Wow.
definitely do. And it, it's, I'm never gonna say that, oh, it was easy and I just took one step after the next. I failed a lot. I feel like there were steps that I took and they weren't sure steps. I would turn to a certain direction and it just wasn't the right path for me. And it was a matter of understanding that falling is also a step of the process, because it's not until you fall that you realize how monumental it is when you actually hit success and you actually achieve something. And I feel like going through the darkness just makes you appreciate the light at the end of the tunnel that much more. And once you get to that light, you kind of realize, well, this isn't the conclusion, because if I take another tunnel, there's going to be another light. So as long as I keep going, life's going to keep giving.
I really enjoyed what you just said about finding the light. There will always be light at the end of the tunnels, but you got to get there first.
Yes.
I feel inclined to ask you what your definition of failure actually is.
Failure is an opportunity. Failure, when you do not succeed at something, it just means that you have an opportunity to make it back around. There are many ways to climb a hill. There are many ways to get there. And so when you take one path and it doesn't work out, okay, you cross that one off the list and now you take it from another angle. So I think failure is just a masked opportunity.
And maybe we just need to have a different relationship with failure.
Yeah, most definitely. I think most people are afraid of it. Like, they have a fear of failure. But what is fair? It's false evidence appearing real. It's something you fabricate in your mind. And if your mind is such a powerful tool, why do you not use it to your benefit? Why do you not think, you know what? I didn't do a great job at this, but that just means that I have an opportunity to go at it again. And that's how you can manifest your reality, right?
It's true.
Yeah.
Somewhere out there is an economics and accounting teacher that can attest. Give it one more shot and it worked.
There you go.
I tell you. So you've had quite the career at the crane and you're still very much there.
Yes.
Actually, at one point you were brought back to the crane because you were doing something else in between.
Yes, I reached a point where I kind of thought, you know what? I've never been on my own. And I thought one of my biggest regrets was not studying outside of Barbados, because I feel like people go through that period of 4 years away of really getting to know who they are and what they're built on. And so I thought, right, this is not a wasted opportunity. I can still get myself out there. So looked into different options, and it was either I'm gonna work on a plane or work on a boat. And it was a feat because this company didn't hire from Barbados, so it took a lot of work. Found out at the end of the day that the reason they didn't hire from here was because we didn't have the specific doctor to do a certain medical. So,
okay.
Yeah. So that was the only thing, because I would have come in there like, what?
Exactly.
Why are you hired from Barbados?
Yes.
Anyway, so I flew to Trinidad, got the medical done, and left on a cruise ship to Alaska.
Alaska. Okay. Not far at all. So here you are living on a cruise ship, going from port to port.
Yes.
Finding yourself, so to
myself.
speak.
True.
And yet it all circles right back home to Barbados.
Yes. I ended up coming right back to Barbados, right back to the crane, in a brand spanking new role. And going on the ship at that moment was a great decision, because I learned so much about myself. I learned about dynamics. I learned about different cultures and nationalities, a whole new different countries.
Yeah.
Right? Because it came down from Alaska right back down through the Caribbean.
That's right.
So I experienced a lot in a very short space of time. And then I came back to Barbados, and within a matter of weeks, I'd sold my first condo. So yeah, I feel like when you make one right step for your life, the Lord starts opening doors and showing you that's how He reaffirms that you've done the right thing, my child. Here's another open door.
Knock wood. The universe just wants to know you're ready.
Exactly.
And the windows
and
will
it just
open.
provides. Exactly.
There you go.
Yeah.
So here we are getting ready to make yet another pivot
Yeah.
and letting the universe open another door, because somewhere between Alaska, the Caribbean, selling condos, you decided, I also want to do something else. I also want to sketch and design beachwear, leisure wear. I call it that kind of luxe resort wear. How did we get there?
So I didn't know it in that detail. I just knew that every time I would wrap a sari on myself, because of course, Indian girl, Barbados, we have Indian events here. Every time I would wrap a sari is essentially 6 yards of relatively sheer material, or silk. It's just different types of fabrics. And you wear it over a petticoat and a blouse. A petticoat is like just a long skirt.
Right.
And just a blouse, so it looks almost like a crop top.
Yeah.
So every time I would wrap one, chiffon was always my favorite fabric because it would flow perfectly.
Yeah.
And I would think, you know, if this was a bikini top, this would look stunning. So I'd always think there has to be a way to marry my Indian heritage to the culture of my birthplace. There is a way to mesh it. And I told one or two of my friends about it. I told my mom, but you know, I never studied for it. I'm not a designer. I wasn't a designer. And so I thought, you know, Karishma, you're just being silly. So didn't do anything with it. And about a year and a half ago, it was New Year's Eve, and I told my best friend, I'm going to do something. And from the time I was 16, I had this name. It was Panache. And Panache just means flamboyant confidence and style or manner.
That's right.
And I thought, no matter what it is I do in my life, at some point I will do something and it will be under the name Panache. So I already had a name. I just went on Instagram and I thought, island wear, you know, because it's not necessarily resort wear, because that maybe confines you a little bit, but this is what you wear on the island.
Yeah.
So I just saved the handle Panache Island Wear, got the .com, and just started posting pictures of little tidbits of things from India and just pictures of chai, like nothing to do with anything specific. And I'd say about 2 months into that, this is gonna sound crazy, just bear with me.
Okay, I'm ready.
I had a dream. And in that dream, I had a conversation with someone about something she was wearing. And I remember waking up, Googling it. It wasn't a thing yet. And I told my now fiance and my mother about it. And they said, well, sketch it so we can see what it looks like. And by the end of that day, I had 4 sketches done. And my fiance actually is an architect. He studied in architecture. And he said, Karishma, you know, people that I went to college with studied for 4 years to be able to sketch. So I thought, okay, if it's flowing, I'm just gonna go with it. So we pulled apart some of my mom's old Indian outfits, got my grandmother as a model, took some earrings to be the hardware, and we wrapped it around her just to see what it would look like.
Yeah.
And having enough confidence for my fiance and my mother and me made me think, right, I'm gonna just do this. And I didn't want to take a loan out to do it, so I had a confirmed eye surgery at that point. I wear contact lenses. So I was just gonna do LASIK.
Me too.
Right? You know, just get rid of the contacts, get rid of the glasses.
Yeah.
So I canceled my eye surgery and I rerouted the funds from that eye surgery to get Panache off the ground. And that's how it started.
Well, talk about believing in your product. I'm just going to put my eyes on hold here and invest in my business, because I can still pop in the contact lens.
2 notches down on the vanity,
it's
2 notches up on the dream.
It's okay. It's okay, because if one works out, we can still get the eye surgery.
Exactly. There you go.
So I know people can see right behind my head, over my head, the luxury island wear. And I call it luxury not because it costs a pound and a crown, but basically that's how you feel.
Yes.
Luxury is just how you feel. You know, you feel rich, you feel luxe, and that's what that conveys. So here we have a line now, and you're a business owner while you are working your, I don't even want to call it 9 to 5 because it just sounds a lot longer than that.
It's a 24/7.
It sounds so much longer than that.
Yes. Little did I know that I'd have to, you know, learn how to juggle the way that I currently do. But I feel like if you're passionate about something, it doesn't so much feel like work as it feels like, oh, I'm getting an opportunity every day when I wake up to do things I love, to create things that I'm passionate about, to talk to people about products that I believe in. And I think that helps. I think it's very important to spend your life investing your time in things that you absolutely love.
Because the one thing I'm getting from your story in particular is if it feels right and it sits right with you, you'll go all in.
100%. Yeah, I'm a big believer in that. If something does not resonate with my soul, if I don't get a good feeling from it, I genuinely feel like the universe is telling me, Karishma, this is not the right fit for you.
This is not the one.
Yeah.
No matter what everybody else is doing, whatever course they're taking, if it's not the Karishma course, it's not going to happen.
Exactly.
Okay. So I just want to be able to let you tell our pivoters how, if you could, knowing what you do about your business now, if you could have done something different, what would it have been?
If I could have done something different, I think I would have been a bit more meticulous with the startup. I think I was just so excited about getting going that I really burnt the candle at both ends. So I was working, at that point, it was a 9-to-5 at the crane. So I was working my 9-to-5, flying from there to Trinidad because it was very cost effective to try to get off the ground in Barbados. And I had family in Trinidad, so I met a couple of seamstresses and I started learning from them. So a couple of the pieces I've actually stitched because I learned how to sew while I was there. Yes. And because I couldn't get the right metalware hair, Trinidad has a very big Indian population.
Absolutely.
So I was able to get a lot of the items that I needed to attach to the fabrics there. So, you know, I'd spend my whole weekends there sourcing, and then I'd fly back in Monday morning just in time to get to the office. And I kept doing that for a couple of weeks.
Wow.
And it was really, really rough. I was in zombie mode for a long time.
So you would have been a lot easier on yourself in the beginning, just to make sure that it's right, yes, but not to kind of rush it to market. So
right, exactly.
But it's hard to curtail.
Just to take a bit more time with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, once that excitement kicks in, it's very hard to pump the brakes.
How do you pump the brakes on excitement, right? So
I don't know, never done it.
It is what it is. And then bam, we had COVID.
Yes. And then COVID happened and I thought, oh, maybe Panache was not necessarily the right fit because Panache had not even crossed the 1-year mark. My 1-year mark is May 9th. And that lockdown hit us in March.
Yeah, it hit us in March.
And I thought, oh, I was so close. And at that point in time, I was the curator for the Global Shapers Bridgetown Hub, which is an initiative of the World Economic Forum.
Right.
And Kimar Safri is a part of our team, and he runs the Barbados Homeless Shelter.
Right.
So at that point, I messaged him and I said, Kimar, how's everything on the ground on your end? Are you managing okay? Do you need support from the team? And he said, I really need masks and I need about 70. So I called my mom and I said, right, we need to get this figured out. We need to do this ASAP. So we just Googled, you know, how to stitch masks at home, what to get done. We had a sewing machine, pressured ads on Instagram, like, please open your doors. Luckily, they were opening for a couple of hours for seamstresses to get access to material.
Access to the fabric,
because remember when that lockdown happened, we really did need masks.
Yeah.
So I got enough material, got the 70 stitched for him and thought, okay, well, maybe I could put a couple on Panache's page because there's a need for this right now. And that was it. From the moment that first mask went onto Panache's page, it went wild.
Okay.
Yeah, wild. And I had to rope in all my family members, my mom, my dad, my sister, everyone was working on it. And I mean, we were closed down. Everything was, all the businesses were closed, the malls were closed. So it was a lot
Tourism was closed.
Tourism was closed. Yep. I mean, I still had crane work because I was still working from home, and obviously people who had money invested in their vacation properties at the crane had a lot of questions.
Yeah.
So it was about managing, being able to answer them, and figuring out how to stitch masks and how to market them and how to get them to people, because we weren't allowed to move on the roads.
That's right.
And yeah, it was being catapulted into an industry that I knew nothing about, a product that I knew nothing about, and just figuring out every step of the way.
That's what you call a pivot. Sometimes you just have to do that, do the dance, so to speak.
Yeah, most definitely.
My goodness gracious. So I really wanted to ask, do you actually see yourself expanding the Panache line as we currently know it?
I definitely do.
Yeah?
Yes, I'm working on a little something. Actually, towards the end of the lockdown, I don't know how or why, but dresses came to mind. And it could have just been because I'd spent so much time at home staring out the window, missing being outside, missing summer, that somehow I started sketching dresses. And so I went from cover-ups and swim covers and casual resort wear to now some island dresses. But I'm dabbling a bit more on the accessories side.
Okay.
So yeah,
So this is what, like earrings and...
Not quite earrings. Think about you're wearing a very casual t-shirt and jeans or a loose dress, and you need something to add to the panache of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, something you're actually going to wear.
Where, I see.
Coming soon.
She's not giving us much more.
Coming
so
soon.
now I have to know.
Keep it locked to the pages.
I know. Stay tuned to Pivot Series. We'll let you know for sure. Karishma, you work for a pretty incredible company, and you are well on your way to building an incredible company.
Yes.
So what has one taught the other for you?
That's a good question. I would say never to take for granted all of the work that goes in on the back end. Building a successful company is like a pretty tightly wound fabric. So there are very many layers. There's a lot of, you tug on one thread, it throws the whole thing off. So you have to be able to really balance your time and your various facets of what makes your company what it is. You can't spend too long focusing on, I have to really, promote the designs. What about all of the marketing? What about the accounting? What about your supply chain? So it's a lot of juggling. And I feel like now I don't take for granted what the crane is, because the crane is a massive product. It's a massive property. And the mind that's created the crane, he's absolutely brilliant. So learning under him has probably been one of the biggest blessings in my life, because I've learned a lot from Paul Doyle.
Wow.
Yeah.
I hope you're listening, because she has. I need to ask you this though. When COVID came and it hit, and for some it was a complete shutdown, for some it was a pivot, as it was with you with the masks. If I could ask what you would want to see in terms of policy implementation to help businesses like yours, even like hotel resorts, what would you like to see implemented to allow businesses to navigate pandemics like COVID-19?
I think something along the lines of promoting digitization and creating an infrastructure in which small businesses are encouraged to get on to digital platforms. I feel like we're rich with potential in the Caribbean, and we're not tapping it as hard as we should. And like I said, there's a lot that goes into building a business, but digitization is one of the most brilliant platforms of our time. And you're literally, a small person sitting with a dream in a very small island, and the rest of the world can know about it. And all of a sudden, what was in your mind transferred to a sheet of paper, which turned into a product, which now you can deliver to the entire world. You don't even have to get on a plane to do that.
Yeah.
And so I feel like if our governments could spend a bit more time investing in SMEs and training them in how to get their businesses onto a digital platform and assist them with, the banking facet of it, so that it's easy for one part of it to speak to the next, so that you can actually create a supply chain to the end user who's in Australia or who's in America or who's in your neighbor's backyard there in Trinidad. How wonderful would that be, right? Because you're literally taking off your boundaries and you're making it limitless at this point. So yeah, that's what I think would take us very far.
And obviously COVID had a lot of us spending a lot of time at home.
Yes.
In the initial stages. How did you find balancing your care responsibilities with your business as well as your corporate responsibilities?
So I had a challenging, I would say, first week because everything was just so up in the air. Everything was uncertain. I wasn't at home living with my parents. So all of a sudden I went from being a person who thrives off of other people's energies to just being by myself. And then I thought, okay, there's something that I need to learn here. What could that be? And I realized that if I created a routine that worked for me, then intrinsically I'm just satisfied. You know what I mean? I'm fulfilled. So I had a very strict routine. It entailed waking up in the morning, not just brushing my teeth, but taking a full shower, getting fully dressed, and putting myself on the couch. And so I'd make a shake, I'd get into my emails, and I just followed that routine. And through that routine, I found moments of deep introspection almost, and that helped me through the mental challenges of what was unfolding around me. And eventually, I actually became very good friends with my neighbors who live in the same block, who were Ross University families. So they were stuck here without their families as well, and we just created a big happy family. We all used to work out together, we used to share meals together, and so yeah, I learned the value of what simple meant, and I found fulfilling within that.
So what's the takeaway you would love to have our pivoters, as we call you fondly, take away from the Karishma story?
It's only now in life that I'm starting to understand the gravity of what my elders told me when I was much younger. Like, you hear your parents say things and you think, yeah, okay. But it's not until you experience it that you understand what it means. And impossible is nothing. Truly, there's nothing that you cannot obtain. So I feel like if you dream something and you think it's something that you really want, just keep focusing on it, because I feel like when you focus on something, if it's meant for you, that opportunity will present itself, and it's to you to just grab it and go after it. And if it's not a right fit, then that's okay. You let it go and you trust that the next one's going to come. So just keep going. Just keep going. And as long as you're passionate, you know that you're on the right path. And the second your passion starts to fizzle and you feel like you've plateaued, that's okay. Just give yourself a moment and you'll start again.
I want to thank you so much for taking time with us today, to be so open with your story. You are so infectious with how you approach life. You can't help but think, I'm just going to get up and go and grab an opportunity and run with it, honestly.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me here. It's like I said, it's been an honor to be with you this morning.
It's a great time to be with you every time. She is Karishma Chugani, and let me tell you, you need to follow Panache's page on IG. And you can also follow her journey. You will know you have found her when she's here with the UN, or when she is with the World Economic Forum, or just if she's on the beach in something luxe and panache. But she's addictive, and I want you to be addicted to a good thing, Karishma and the Pivot series. So until the next installment, keep pivoting.